Save just because my own bias, being if I was a Circle 2 captain, getting rid of that Blackbird followed by either Vexor or Vigilant. But Navy battle cruisers aren't that tanky themselves. But Blackbird for sure. You definitely don't want to lose a ship because your logic gets unlucky and gets jammed right off the bat. Being no handlebars, you know, they have a lot of soft targets that they could hit as well. They got the two thoraxes they could go for. They got a vex that they could go for. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go straight up to taking out that harbinger, being the least tanky battle cruiser on the field, and it'll also take out a lot of projection off the field as well.
Yep, but we still have, I believe, at least 30 seconds until the match starts. Oh, 30 seconds just now being called. I really do not like ECM, but I so much favor the Nero, so I'm really curious to see how these Logi play out, as well as the target calling. I'm kind of actually surprised CO2 didn't bring a double Vexor, similar to what No Handlebars has, especially with the new drone meta, because drones are extremely strong. So instead, they're going to have to rely the thorax projectiles being able to work for them. You got about
Yeah, I mean,
5 seconds.
yeah, Thorax is still strong. They still a lot of DPS, but yeah, Vexors are really strong in this case against a Thorax. And I'm really curious. Looks like a Thorax is the primary for no handlebars, while the Blackbird is being focused on by CO2, which is it's a smart call. We're gonna actually see the Blackbird's actually getting some good reps because it is armor tanked, so it's actually holding up pretty well. The Thorax of Zieg is actually taking a lot of damage and dipping to hold. This is a T1 frigate. It's not holding up well against the damage. Which is very surprising when you have 5 battle cruisers attacking a Blackbird and not being able to kill the Blackbird. While
Yeah.
like
Oh,
and
well, I was gonna say, if you look at it, so it does look like the Blackbird has 3 attempted jams on the Guardian and then the Navy Brutixes, and I do believe Guardian is not jammed because the Thorax is still catching reps. However, maybe it had those Navy Brutix and then now the Harbinger jams on there, so it wasn't actually receiving the full DPS, whereas the Thorax instead was taking on the full DPS.
yeah, I mean, there is a ton of Logi rep drones on this Thorax, and Zig is pulling back armor, which is he's happy about this because he almost went down the match. He lived with only 12% structure left. Good on those Logi drones. That's really it's a lot of coordination to make sure your Logi drones are active on the correct target. And it looks like Homer Simpson in the Harbinger is now the primary for no handlebars, and you see the Logi drones being moved over to him.
Yeah, they say CO2 gave up on destroying the Blackbird. It's naturally just regenning shield. It did look like they tried to go for the Vigilant, but I believe he is now being able, or is now stable as well. I'm not quite sure who they're shooting at because nobody on the no handlebar side is really taking any damage. Looks like there were some shots off on the Guardian, but he's barely in half shield and he's obviously armor tanked.
Yeah,
So
CO2 is not really applying that much damage across the field. No handlebars. A lot of logistics pilot of Ghoulish is really just having the best time of his life right now. Not having to apply too much reps. They are putting some damage on Fenris's Vigilant. It's still just in like shields. But it seems to be a stalemate right now with both teams having issues breaking each other's ships.
yeah, it makes me wonder because these Vexors use so many drones, and you can see the drones flying back and forth. I wonder if maybe they're taking the time to actually shoot drones and kind of win the support war, which you can't, like as a viewer, you can't really see the drones unless they're shown on screen, and then even us as commentators have to individually lock up the drones. So it doesn't really look like anything's happening with these health bars, but there's still action going on the field.
Yeah, there's still a lot of drones, but it doesn't look like as many drones as there were before, so I wouldn't be surprised if some drones did get popped, like you mentioned, which could be a good play here, but also you are having to deal with large drone bays, the replenishment of drones, so that's a very iffy play. If I was no handlebars team, I will try for another play on Zig's Thorax just because it's so low hull and you're hoping to catch that Logi pilot off guard. But they are going after Fox's Thorax instead, which has caught armor reps.
Yeah, what they could be trying to do is so while they're shooting Fox, have all of them simultaneously switch on to Zeke because once they break through his armor, he has barely any structure left, 12%. And so that'd be really easy just to kind of like surprise their lodge or surprise the CO2 Logi and break him.
Yeah. The
Well,
thing with Zeke, he's really far out there. So he's he's effectively kind of out of the match right now because he's so far out there. Fox is taking a ton of damage as well. He does have a lot of enemy DPS drones on him. There are no Logi drones on Fox, and he's hitting structure, and he has gone down. That was a Logi drone mistake there, because if those Logi drones were able to get on Fox, I'm sure he would have lived.
yeah, actually, the Logi drones were all on the Guardian, who is sitting right next to Fox. So had everyone switched their Logi drones right away, maybe he could have held on.
Yeah, it would have been a very short travel time. It would have got there immediately. I think that might have been a call mistake there, or or ships could have been out of the drone control range, which I don't think is a factor because they're all pretty close to each other, relatively about 20, 30 kilometers away from each other. Still in like a nice drone control range kind of group, but Kalstis in the Vexor is getting into low armor. He's taking a lot of damage. The Tuan in the Guardian for the CO2 team is hitting structure, ton of damage. The only type of reps he's getting is Logi reps, and there he goes. No, Logi drones were not able to keep up the Logi of CO2.
Now with the Logi down, I would assume no handlebars should be able just to clean up the CO2 team, especially since they still have that Blackbird, and now the jams that were on that Guardian are able to be applied to the rest of the team.
Yeah, the more ships that get killed off for CO2, the more powerful that Blackbird becomes. So I wouldn't be surprised that some DPS gets jammed off, so that's a huge mitigation of damage right there. They just lost another cruiser. It looks like no handlebars should be able to easily clean up the rest of the match, as I'm sure a lot of CO2's pilots are either jammed or having trouble applying damage to the proper targets.
Yeah, for sure. And I do notice that if you guys, I know um, the viewers viewing the stream, they can't actually see the EWAR effects, but there are being target painters as well as tracking disruptors sent from both sides of the team to each other. So they're utilizing all of these mid slots of these cruisers and battle cruisers to be able to make up for that with just EWAR in general, rather than having a specialized ship like you would see like a Vigil using target painters instead. They're relying on these cruisers, which are more tankier, even though it's a little less effective. The Harbinger from the named Homer Simpson on the CO2 side now going down.
Yeah, I mean, this fight was on a nice edge. Either team could have broke through. It just happened to fall under no handlebars way there, and they'll be the ones going through to the Alliance tournament. But CO2 is not done. They still got a few matches that they could still qualify if they make it to the gauntlet of matches. I mean, it's just unlucky the way it fell for them here in this match. It could have gone either way. I'm very surprised about how much trouble the teams had killing each other, but you also have to take into effect that Navy BCs, great ships, but they are running railguns. They are running beams. At most DPS, if they go up close, they're probably getting upwards to mid 500s to 600s if they're using close range DPS, which some of them weren't. So they're really probably hitting for 400 DPS each ship, and they're also going up against a ship that's getting Logi reps and Logi drone reps, because each of these ships that they had in their comp had drones, and they most likely all had Logi drones. So yes, awesome having this core, but you're also giving up very heavy hitting DPS ship if by taking away a battleship to have that huge engagement window.
Yeah, and while I absolutely dislike ECM, I have to give a huge shout out to this Blackbird pilot, as well as the Oneros pilot, who kept him alive. At the beginning, we saw him being primaried and he was almost completely gone off the field, but the Oneros held on with his reps. I think he staggered them as well as any sort of rep bots on the field from his team. So mad props to the no handlebars support.
Yeah, no handlebars brought like a nice mixture of Logi and DPS drones. So it was very smart of them, because those DPS drones were essential in taking out that thorax, which, of course, as we noticed, it didn't have the Logi drones of CO2 on it to catch it. Because if those logic drones are on there, I'm pretty sure that thorax would have lived no problem. Because logic drones, yes, they're T1, they're still very strong. You might as well have another logistics module on your ship. They're that strong.
Yeah, and if we're looking, so I know they have the attack bar on the screen, and it only has a sliver of red. So my guess is if this Brutix Navy issue isn't jammed, he's not able to apply at all with the tracking disruptor, and that's displayed through the attack bar with that tiny sliver of red. Barely anything, as he's the last one to fall for CO2.
Yeah, I mean, great match. Both teams did well there. I can't really say that there are too many mistakes. It's a very tough composition to fly. The Navy battlecruiser comps are very strong, but you have to be really great pilots and know exactly what you're doing to use it in a most effective way. But there it goes. We'll see no handlebars going to the Alliance tournament.
With that, we'll send it back to Epiphany in the studio.